Welcome into the Field of 68 mid-major show. You guys know the faces. Rocco Miller, Sean Paul. My name is Vince Wolfram. Let's check in, guys, after a great week of mid-major basketball, college basketball in general. It got snowy outside, but the games are bringing the heat all week. Rocco, I know you're in Illinois tonight. I'm sure there's plenty of snow still on the ground out there.
Yes, plenty of snow and plenty of freezing temperatures. I think tonight the overnight low is like -3. Somehow I'm surviving. I learned a few years ago, just only pack ski gear, Vince. If I just wear ski gear everywhere, I'm good. So you can see I got my thermal on right here, ready to rock. Let's do it again tonight.
Those West Coast senses are tingling as you get ready for a game tonight. And then Sean, check in with us, man. Is there any cold out by you? What do we got?
The only cold is the one I currently have. No actual
Oh.
cold weather, but this is my I don't do well sick, so like the smallest cold to me probably feels like a deathly illness when it usually isn't. So we power through though. We've been watching mid-major hoops, we've been chilling. We got everything going.
I was about to say, I know that's what doctors say, right? You just have to tune into some mid-major hoops to cure any illness. And I guess looking at to start us off here, I think this Miami of Ohio story resembles that of any Pixar movie that you could imagine, right? Like there's somebody that's trying to take this main character that's on this winning road, that's the leading guy off their path, and they get so close, but the leading guy always ends up on top. Miami of Ohio, with Nebraska losing the other night, has the nation's longest active win streak at 21 games, Rocco. Insane finish. Once again, a foul on a three in the last 30 seconds of this game against Massachusetts, sort of up the tensions a little bit, but Miami of Ohio gets an 86-84 win at home against Massachusetts.
It's just an incredible story, and what's going on there locally, I think is really impressive. They had 6,000 students that showed up 90 minutes before tip-off. I go around to a bunch of these mid-major games. I know Sean's been to a bunch throughout his career, and that's just not normal. People are usually rolling in 10 minutes before tip. It's really hard to even get a game sold out. And they're playing this weekend, Northern Illinois, who's near the bottom of the standings. The game is already sold out. And I think that's the larger story, is just how much excitement they've been able to generate through this run, and the characters they have on the team, and Travis Steele really saying yes to every opportunity to go on the air and talk about them. It's been really huge in a year where the rest of Ohio is struggling. You look at a Dayton team that people love. They've lost 3 in a row, fallen off any hope of being an at-large team. Ohio State's a middling bubble team with a roller coaster season. Cincinnati's been mostly disappointing. And so I think that's the other part of it. Like, a couple weeks ago, Miami, Ohio had a great promotion. If you had a ticket to a high major game on the same night, I know that night Cincinnati was playing, I think Xavier was playing around the same time, they would exchange it for a Miami of Ohio ticket for the best team in the state. And I just thought that was genius. I know they upset all the big schools, but here on the mid-major show, we love what the Red Hawks are doing. They're seizing the moment. And that's just the largest part of the story. We've had Suter on the show, of course, Steele on the show. And the fact that they're just finding every way possible to win these games is just adding to the aura and the historic run.
No, completely. And obviously you give credit to the marketing team and what Miami is doing out there to get eyes on their program, because the Red Hawks are hot. And Sean, I know Rocco covered a little bit of the human aspect of it and what this rivalry means what this win streak, means big picture. But looking at the actual basketball on the floor, their last 3 games, they've won by a combined 11 points. They're skating by in those last couple minutes of game. Sort of put into perspective their last couple, how they've been able to win and what that means for this team heading forward, having that ability down the stretch in close games.
It's good to see them tested. I mean, I think every team, just a natural stress you get late in games when you're in a close game, when you're in a game where you're down. They were down in this game at halftime. They were down against Kent State in that second half. That's a game they very nearly lost. And the same deal against Buffalo. They very nearly lost that one. I want to see them in their next game against Northern Illinois, a team near the bottom of the MAC. Just come in and win that one by 20. Prove you can do it again. We want to see this Miami team boost their metrics as much as possible, do what they have to do to boost their NCAA tournament resume, because they're not going to have a chance to get a whole lot of high-quality wins just given the league that they're in. But what they can do is beat the teams that they should beat by a lot of points to prove that they're a step above these other teams and continue boosting their resume. Like, if you want to be an at-large team, I think this is an at-large team. Obviously, they're going to have to lose a game in the MAC tournament to make that a conversation, but you got to prove it to the committee. Like, you have to find a way to prove that you belong in the NCAA tournament. I think they do, but they're not going to have the quality wins to necessarily show that. So when it comes down to it, they're going to have to dominate the Northern Illinois of the world. But for me, just their resiliency has been really impressive. Getting down in games, they haven't looked down and out in any of them. And in this game, they didn't have Luke Skaljack. I believe he was out with an illness. He was out. Justin Kirby stepped in. Freshman, he had a really good game. Pete Suter did his thing as a playmaker. Ian Elmer, as you can see there, at 30 points. He's been really good since the Buffalo game, 17 points in that game, 25 in their game against Kent State and 30 against UMass. So he's really stepped up. They just have so many different options, and that's part of what makes them so dangerous. But I want to see them put their foot on the gas now. Go and dominate teams the way they should be dominating teams, and they're going to give themselves a really good chance to play in the NCAA tournament.
That extra prove it factor is what Sean is looking for from the Red Hawks. And Rocco, I guess I want to go to you on this last question here on Miami of Ohio, because last week we talked about who might be able to take this team down. And the answer obviously was tough because this MAC conference is so constantly changing. And you look at sort of the teams up next for them, and it's starting to get in the point in conference play where you see teams again, you meet those same opponents. They get Buffalo again. They get UMass, who they just beat by 2. They get Bowling Green, who is a top 150 team in the country. Who do you think is the next big test for the Red Hawks that could challenge that unbeaten streak?
Yeah, well, I think the obvious answer to that would circle both games next week, but I don't think you can quickly overlook NIU. I agree with Sean. They do want to show that they can not only beat the bottom of the league, but beat them handily, and that they are a dominant team. That's been the one fascinating element of this Red Hawk group, is so many close wins no matter what the level of competition is. A lot of times they're very slow starters and need a miracle finish to pull it out, which they did last time they played Buffalo. And that, of course, is their next game after Northern Illinois. They'll go to Buffalo. In that game, of course, Buffalo was up 10 late. Daniel Freitag had to leave the game with concussion-like symptoms, and he missed a couple of games. He's back now. Buffalo just recently themselves, we've had them on the show. They've been a great story. Finally got on track after a 5-game skid, including that Miami, Ohio heartbreaker. Had a really difficult schedule. They played Kent State and Akron during that stretch, lost to UMass by 1 point, but they go to Bowling Green, who's also pretty good, and they win that game by double digits the other night, and they've got Ohio at home this weekend. So I think no matter how this weekend plays out for both Miami, Ohio, and Buffalo, that's going to be a good crowd in Buffalo. There's not much going on there except for a lot of cold weather. They love sports, and Miami, Ohio is getting so crazy. They might actually bring some fans up there. So that should be a good one. And then the weekend after, we'll talk about this next week, but we have the MAC Sunbelt Round 2, which is exciting because very rare to see February non-conference games. And Marshall is the matchup for Miami, Ohio, which is fascinating on a bunch of fronts. First of all, Miami historically used to be in the MAC, so that's an old rivalry that goes way back. They're also 10-2 at home. So Marshall's proven themselves to be a good home team in non-conference play and throughout Sunbelt so far. And the other thing is, we all know how Marshall plays. Basically carried forward the D'Antoni method of pace and space and spread you out and shoot threes. So Miami, Ohio, in a lot of ways in that Marshall matchup will play similar style as themselves. Marshall, of course, will try to push the pace. That could be an absolutely crazy game if they're able to get by Northern Illinois and Buffalo in these next two.
How cool would it be to see the Red Hawk fans grow wings and start traveling to these away games? I think that would be a pretty sweet thing for Miami of Ohio. Their next big one is Saturday at home against Northern Illinois in Oxford. Let's go now from the MAC to the WAC, right? We've got a 3-team race at the top of this MAC that's all tied for first right now with UT Arlington, Utah Valley, and Cal Baptist. I guess we can start because Utah Arlington, Sean, sits at the top of this group. They've got a game today against Southern Utah tonight at home, but they just beat Tarleton State, who has one of the more high-powered offenses in the country, coming off a loss before that to Utah Valley. Thoughts on this UT Arlington Mavericks team so far with half of conference play still left to go?
Yeah, I mean, they have a really safe floor because of how good they are on the defensive end. 57th in Ken Palm's defensive efficiency are the UT Arlington Mavericks under KT Turner. Obviously, a couple years ago in his first year, got him to the WAC title game against Grand Canyon. Last year was a down season, but this year, I mean, they've just been able to put it together and be really good because of how good they are defensively. Rayshawn Seamster is a big reason for that. They're returning big man from last year. But Marcel McCreary, a guy who started his career at Air Force, transferred to be a role player at Northern Colorado the last 2 seasons, has really become a reliable option as a bigger wing who can shoot it. He's their leading scorer so far this year. And then Cash Chavis, transfer from Arkansas, he's become a really solid point guard for UT Arlington. But they're the best defensive team in the league. In a league that has some really good defensive teams. Utah Valley's a really good defensive team. Obviously, they dropped 2 straight games, both on the road against Southern Utah. That one was a bit of a shocker. And California Baptist. Tarleton State coming up next for Utah Valley today. And then California Baptist, 5 straight wins, including that one over Utah Valley. They started the league season with 3 straight losses all on the road. That was just a really tough start to league play for them. But when you play Utah Valley, UT Arlington, and Tarleton State in 3 straight road games, that's going to be a tough start for you. But the schedule softened up a little bit, and they've gotten on track. But that meeting against UT Arlington on Saturday could really define what happens in this league. Overall, you look at the two teams, you look at both are really good on the glass, both are really good defensively. But at the end of the day, when you have a guy like Dominique Daniels Jr. is going to be joining us in a little bit here, you have the step up against a bunch of these teams. Like he had 47 points in CBU's last game. He is a next level scorer. He's a big time bucket getter. I don't care about his size. I don't care that he's 5'10", 180. He is a bucket getter. He's lightning fast. He draws a ton of fouls. He is a stud. And all the other guys on the CBU team, they play really hard. They get on the glass. They grab 39% of their misses, one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the country. So as long as everybody plays their role around Dominique Daniels Jr., I think this is a team to beat in the WAC.
So Sean's rocking with Cal Baptist, and I guess, Rocco, I'll go to you on Utah Valley, a team that's staring at the back of UT Arlington at the top of that conference right now, led by Jackson Holcomb. They go to Tarleton State tonight. Thoughts on Utah Valley and their 5-3 conference record so far? I know they've lost 2 in a row, 2 tough ones, but hope to get back in the win column tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Holcomb's been an amazing player for Utah Valley individually, but the team is overall strong. Arlington's defense right now measures out a little bit better than Utah Valley's, but they're both in the top 100, which is hard to find in the league at the WAC's level. So that gives both teams, I think, a lot of stability going forward. Now, obviously, Utah Valley going from 5-1 to 5-3, the surprise loss at an improving Southern Utah team. A little bit of a tough trip down there to Southern Utah and St. George, but I think they'll bounce back. I mean, this Cal Baptist game they played on Saturday, we'll talk to Dom Daniels here in a second. Can't wait. He, of course, had 47 points, and I think what was lost was Utah Valley going 2 for 20 from 3. I just don't think that's going to happen most nights. By far their worst shooting performance of the season. And even on a 2 for 20 night, they get the game to overtime. So they find other ways to generate buckets. They're very good at shot selection throughout the year. I'm going to bank a little bit more on the season-long sample size than just the last couple of games. They're relatively good to go from a health perspective. And I think this might be good for them, this little stretch they've had. I think the other thing that needs to be pointed out anytime we talk about the WAC is the crazy situation this season. There's only 7 teams. So everybody's playing each other 3 times. And so when it comes to UT Arlington, who has the edge for the time being, they're still going to have to play Utah Valley 2 more times. And Utah Valley was clearly the better side the first time around, handling the Mavs by 12. The only team, the Mavs, who haven't really been able to contain. Utah Valley went for 86 in that ball game, and they play them twice at home. So the next time Arlington comes up for UVU is next week, right back again in Orem. So that's the really interesting twist is like on the flip side, UT Arlington's hosting Cal Baptist for the second time this Saturday, and they'll finally play them on the road at the end. So it's just a wild year because when we get to the WAC tournament, fellas, it's going to be round 4 for all these matchups. And that's really what it's going to come down to. I think all 3 of those schools, UT Arlington, UVU, and Cal Baptist, have plenty of reasons for optimism and have different ways they can beat you.
Yeah, and let's speak about Cal Baptist before we welcome on Dom Daniels, like you both mentioned here, because that's a team that's rattled off 5 straight victories. They're playing really, really hot right now, and they've only lost games in stretches. If you look at their record this year, 3 in a row with Colorado, BYU, Utah, and then at the start of conference play, starting 0-3, and now they sit at 5-3. Sean, obviously Daniels leading the way for this group, but outside of him, pieces are stacking up for this group and really stepping up in the needed moments, especially in that overtime victory against Utah Valley.
I mean, a lot of it's just, give him a high ball screen and let him cook. Like, you have guys who can, some bigs who can set screens like Jonathan Griman, like Thomas Endong. Those 2 guys have been really good in their roles as screen setters, as rebounders. Devin Malcolm, who didn't play in that Utah Valley game, he's also been really good as a bigger small ball forward. And then you have Jaden Jackson, who can hit some shots. You have Martell Williams, who can hit some shots. But I think, to me, kind of a little bit to Rocco's point about Utah Valley and CBU, I just want to touch on why, another reason why I kind of give the lean to California Baptist. When you look at that Utah Valley team, they did shoot it poorly from 3, but none of the teams in the top 3 in this league are good at shooting threes. Really, it's just not really their identity. But the one separator to me is, from a matchup perspective, I do think that advantage on the glass offensively for California Baptist will give them a step up against Utah Valley, who does allow a pretty hefty amount of offensive rebounds, and all of them turn the ball over a pretty fair amount. I mean, UT Arlington is like bottom 8 in turnover rate offensively this year. Utah Valley turns it over 20% of the time, but California Baptist 18% of the time, more than you would like. But when it comes down to it, I think them having the lowest turnover rate of the 3 could be a pretty big decider in what happens, because you can't give away those free possessions. It's all about the little things when the margins are this thin, and the margins kind of favor California Baptist in the rebounding and turnover department. So just surrounding Dominique Daniels with all the little things, I think, is good enough to get them to where they need to be.
Rocco, looking at the rest of this Western Athletic Conference, the WAC, obviously we've got the 3 teams that we've talked about at the top, but if you look at the rest of it, there's 11-win Tarleton State in last place, 10-win Abilene Christian, Southern Utah with 7 wins sitting in the middle of the conference. Record-wise, it's a little interesting, and which makes me think there's bound to be teams that can beat anybody. And to your point, they're all going to play each other and multiple times. On the bottom half of this conference, is there a team that stands out that you think might be able to make a chase for the top of the leaderboard in the WACC by the time March swings around?
Yeah, in the WAC, I mean, it's crazy. You have to start that answer with Tarleton and Dior Johnson. He's the biggest unicorn in the league by a mile, in my opinion. No offense to Dom Daniels. He's amazing at what he does. But Dior Johnson came from UCF a year ago. He's been storied for several years before that, coming through the AAU circuit and so forth. And when he plays, I mean, he had a 4-game stretch in the WAC where he was the MVP every game. But there's periods where he doesn't play. There's been conflicts within the team with him, and we don't know the whole story. This would have been the year. I read this earlier. This would have been the year for a documentary on the Tarleton Texans, because the Dior Johnson saga you just don't know what's going to happen every night. But there is a world, Vince, where we get to the WAC tournament and the green lights are turned on for him to play all 40 minutes. And I could easily see Tarleton just running through the tournament, because he has proven when they set up plays for him and run offense through him, he's the most unstoppable force in the league. Dropped 40 on Southern Utah, 36 on Utah Valley, who could win the league, 34 on Cal Baptist. I mean, he's done it against every level. Obviously, he had 42 against Baylor, a Big 12 school. So, this is the most intriguing conference because of a situation like that. I think with the other 3, Abilene Christian, and I'll turn it back to you in a second. They came in with the most continuity in the league, felt good about themselves. They've proven to be a mostly good home team so far, knocking off Utah Valley at home. I want to see that continuity pay off for them. I had a chance to call one of their games in the beginning of the year. And Braden Hubbard's a special talent. They just have to really clean up the turnovers. I know that's been a work in progress throughout the year, but if they can finally figure that out by the time we get to March, I think Abilene Christian could present a lot of challenges, because they do know how to do the ball pressure game better than anyone, and they can speed you up and take you out of what you want to do.
That, and now we are joined by the man himself, Cal Baptist's Dominique Daniels. He brought some Cali love to the box score in their last game, obviously, Dom, on a night where AJ DeBonsta has 43 points, Keaton Wagler goes for 46, Kingston Flemings goes for 42. I think the last thing you expected was somebody to up the smoke on those numbers, but you managed to find a way to do it. Looking back at that night, did you know when the game started that you were going to get that hot? And have you ever scored that many points in a basketball
Um, Looking back at that night, I didn't really expect to end the game with 47 points. I was just coming in with the mindset to do whatever it took to help my team get the win. And I've only scored that many points one other time when I was in junior college, my sophomore year of college. It was the same amount of points. So, yeah, I was just coming in with the mindset that I needed to, do whatever it took to get the win.
Hey, Dom, Rocco Miller here. Thanks for joining the show. It's great to see you. I know this is year 3 for you at CBU, and coming off of a couple of great years, you probably had options elsewhere. Can you just walk us back through your decision to continue staying there, and what do you love about the school and your teammates?
I love the brotherhood that we all share. At the end of the day, we all have one goal. We all have, one aspiration, and that's to win the championship. And the community of CBU is just unbelievable. It's probably the craziest community I've ever been a part of as far as school wise, and just the support that everybody shows us here on campus. It's actually like really tremendous, and how much support we get from the students, the donors, anybody who's affiliated with CBU at the end of the day. So that played a huge role in me coming back to CBU, and just the loyalty piece. CBU gave me a chance coming out of junior college, so I just felt like I needed to, stick with it and see what the end's going to be. So, yeah, that's pretty much it on that.
Dom, Sean Paul here. Thanks for joining the show. Uh, Obviously, like Rocco said, back at Cal Baptist for your third season. Ultimately, what would making the NCAA tournament mean to you this year? I mean, because like a lot of people don't really stick around that long nowadays, but for you, it's been your program for a few years. What would that mean to cap it off with a tournament bid?
It would be a dream come true for me. Since I was little, I always wanted to be able to play in March Madness. So it would be a surreal moment. And then, it's on to the next game for me. At that point, if we make the tournament, we make it, we can celebrate it. But at the end of the day, we still got another championship to try to go get. So it'll be a surreal moment. But, at that point, it's time to get back to work.
Hey, Dom, you guys won 14 in a row at home, 10-0 this season at Fowler. Can you tell everybody what it's like to play in that building and why you should be able to finish out the year maybe undefeated?
The energy is it's a different level of energy here at the Fowler Event Center. I will say that. Just the energy that we get from the student section, the fans, we feed off of that energy, and I feel like it's a pretty tough environment to come and play against. Probably one of the best, in my opinion, that I've ever been a part of. So, yeah, the Fowler Event Center is really like that. So I will give my props to the Fowler Event Center for sure.
What has made you guys so improved defensively this season? Last year, you guys were like 160 in Ken Palm's defensive efficiency, the same the year before. This year, you guys are 93rd. So, what's been the biggest switch that flipped for you guys on that end?
Just being able to stay focused and get stops. At the end of the day, that's what we pride ourselves on the defensive end. Our coaching staff does a really good job giving us our stats and our numbers and things like that, and making sure that we, do whatever it needs to be done to, get multiple stops in a row and just like finish out possessions. Really, like we got to finish the possession with a rebound. we try not to let other teams get second chance points and things like that. So just our coaching staff making sure that we're, extremely focused and have that elite focus on the defensive end to be able to continuously get stops throughout the course of the basketball game.
Well, Dominique, we appreciate
Dom,
you
you guys-
joining us here on the Field of 68. We're gonna head to break now. We appreciate you joining us, and hey, just know too, if you ever drop another 47, we'll probably see you again. So best of luck the rest of the way, and keep hooping, my friend.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
As you know by now, we have teamed up with BetMGM again this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we will have special offers for Field of 68 fans, including same-game parlays, best-in-class live betting, and daily odds boost. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, you sign up using bonus code FIELD, you deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code FIELD and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. If you're not a member of the Field of 68's On3 community, make sure to go check us out. Get access to all of Jeff Goodman and Rob Doster's written content, including coaching carousel breakdowns, info on who is and isn't entering the transfer portal, insider recruiting information from none other than Joe Tipton, X's and O's analysis of all the teams in college basketball, and access to our message board community. A 7-day trial costs you $1. The Field of 68 on 3. Get the scoop.
Are you trying to follow everything happening in college basketball? It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for recruiting news, game analysis, portal updates, and much, much more. For just $50 a year, you get access to the same information that your favorite coaching staff is subscribed to. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help. Make sure you subscribe today.
Welcome back into the Field of 68 mid-major show. Sean Paul, Rocco Miller. I'm Vince Wolfram. So we just broke down, I guess, Miami of Ohio, still rolling at the start of the show. Then we had Dominique Daniels to come on and talk about his Cal Baptist Lancers and the tight race in the WAC. Let's move now, though, to the Missouri Valley, the group that is causing chaos, seems like every single week on this show. There was another change at the top. There is a new team reigning at the very top of the Missouri Valley Conference standings, that being the Belmont Bruins. And I know, Rocco, Belmont on a roll. They are sitting at 19-3 overall, just 2 losses in the conference, top 60 offense in the country. A big win over Valpo by 1 point in a close one the other night. And I believe you were there, so you can talk to
Yes.
Belmont and the madness that went on at the end of that game.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Like Valparaiso, first of all, shout out to those guys. Like amazing history. We all remember Bryce Drew's shot in 1998 and just how good that program was. And they're fighting like heck to get that thing back. They've had some great performances the last few weeks. Fell 1 point short last night to Belmont, but kudos to Valpo. I think they're on the rise big time with some of the freshmen they brought in. But speaking of freshmen, Vince, how about Belmont with the big three? And kudos to Sean Paul. Put out a really good tweet about this yesterday. Ian Dillon last night, career high 23 points. Jack Smiley, who's getting to play more with the injury to Nick McLean, is also from Valparaiso. Had a huge rooting section at the game last night. That was a big deal for him to come home. He had 11 in the game, but he's been playing really well, getting more minutes. And then, of course, they've got Jabez Jenkins, a starter, who really is important for their attacking the glass efforts and rebounding efforts and so forth to help free up shooters. He's been such a quality player and their best athlete, I would say. And he was really important last night because Sam Orm only played 7 minutes. I think he got I was waiting to get this confirmed, but we think he got something in the eye that should be okay long term. Might want to watch his status because Belmont does play Murray this Saturday in a big one. But Belmont can beat you in so many ways. We've talked to Tyler Lumblade on this show. He attracts so much attention. But other guys like Smiley can kill you from deep. Dylan is really playing confident and emerging. Both those guys are coming off the bench. And then, Drew Sharnowski, he mixes it up down low at 6'9", 230. He's a huge body. Needs to work on his free throws. He missed all 4 of them last night. But he's also a great passer. I mean, to lead the team in assists by far with 8 assists last night at 6'9", and they're not a huge team. He's basically their tallest player. So Belmont has a very inside-out approach, as they always have. It's a quality system. And credit to Casey Alexander, man. Like, he has built a championship program and carried forward a championship program as the years have gone on now. So it's just it's a team that expects to win at a very high level, and they take it in stride and they move on to the next game.
And I guess, too, on the opposite side of that, a Valpo team that's 161st in KenPom went down to the wire with Belmont and only lost by 1. From the Valpo perspective, what did you like and what gives you promise for that team as they move through conference play?
Just their tenacity and overall effort level. There was times early where Belmont got up by 12 or so. And I think they got up by 10 at least. And Valpo would not back down. There were times in the second half where Belmont get up 6. They keep coming back. They're well supported in the community. I mean, the place isn't sold out yet like Miami, Ohio, but you could feel it. Like, if Valparaiso could finally break through and get to the top of this league, it would be an incredible environment at the Arc. And JT Pettigrew, a phenomenal freshman athlete. Rakeem Chaney can really shoot it, also a freshman. And also, Sean Tupuola is like the heart and soul of the team. He's just one of those guys you would love to play alongside at 6'10", 245. He was by far the biggest player on the floor, pulled down 3 offensive rebounds, was battling cramps all night, so he only played 17 minutes, but he's a key piece. And then the other freshman they go to is Carter Hopoi, who really backfills Sean, but he's getting quality experience this year. If they can somehow get those 3 freshmen to come back next year, like, I could see Valpo getting picked in like the top 4 of the Missouri Valley, which would be a huge stride for the program, big picture wise.
Yeah, big motion for Valpo and for Belmont. Their next game is against a Murray State team that has surprisingly dropped 3 in a row to Drake, to Northern Iowa, and to Illinois State in their last one, Sean, just yesterday, in a game where Chase Walker, our preseason player of the year, mid-major player of the year, had a very nice day. Certainly he was the MVP of this game, but Murray State, a tough stretch of 3 games. What have you seen that has become, I guess, the issue for that group in the last 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, against Illinois State, they did not shoot the ball well from 3. Really, it's kind of been the case in the last 2 games, really all 3 games. They were 7 for 32 from 3 against Drake. They were 7 for 26 from 3 against Northern Iowa. And in this Illinois State game, they were 4 for 22 from 3. Fred King's been awesome. He's continued to dominate down low, and his size is just such a difference maker in a lot of these games. Obviously, facing Chase Walker, he's pretty much the only guy in the league that has similar size to Fred King. Both of them are 6'8", 6'9", 270, 280. So it's really close size-wise between those two. So that's why that made that such an intriguing matchup. They have Murray State. They have a lot of talent. We talked about that all year long. Their upside is winning a game or 2 in the NCAA tournament, but they're going to have to shoot it well from 3 to get there, and they just haven't shot it well lately, and that's going to be a big difference maker for them moving forward. Obviously, they faced a pretty hungry Northern Iowa team in that game, but at the end of the day, they just didn't get enough stops in that one against the Northern Iowa offense that had really struggled. And there were a lot of clean looks in that one for Trey Campbell. For Leon Bond, he got a breakaway dunk late in that game that really changed the complexion of the game off a missed shot. And then you have just overall just a lack of consistency, I feel like, on both ends of the floor with the shooting, with the defense. It just hasn't really been there for Murray State. I think it will come together because they are a much better shooting team than they've shown of late, and that's kind of the thing. When you shoot a lot of threes, you're going to have some ups and downs, but I really think they need to establish Fred King more because good things happen when he gets a basketball, and you know that at least you can get him to the foul line. He's only a 60% foul shooter, but if you get him the basketball, you're putting a lot of pressure on that defense to eventually probably double team him and open up some of those shooters like Javen Jackson, like Lane Taylor, like JJ Traynor, Roman Doman. Get those guys open, get them comfortable looks off the catch, and I think that'll make a big difference for this Murray State team moving forward because they have to shoot the ball well from three with how often they shoot it from three.
And Rocco, for Murray State, the road doesn't look any easier, right? We mentioned Belmont already, and then they play an Illinois-Chicago team that has the nation's 10th longest win streak in 7 straight games. This is a team that is really, really hot as well. Speak to what the Flames have been doing because they've been lighting it up.
Yeah, well, I think it's defense mainly for the Flames. The defense has been phenomenal in a lot of their performances. We talked about that, I think, the last time they came up on our show. Now they had to play a couple of better offenses in Bradley and Indiana State. They allowed those two teams to get into the 70s, but winning on the margins. I think another big key to the team, as I think Sean pointed out last time, is the return of Elijah Crawford, being able to finally get on the court after missing a bunch of time. He was really the star in the Bradley win, going for 26 points. Super efficient game. He only took 14 shot attempts in the ball game. And again, defensively, like I'm a big fan of Abdul Momo. He's just been an elite rim protector, shot blocker supreme, and they've got some help around him. And so this has been a really good system around Coach Rob Eson. And the other thing is about UIC long term, and I was going to make this point about Murray State as well, is Missouri Valley, much like a bunch of other leagues this year, you might see this pattern across all levels of college basketball. They've backloaded the schedule to have their bigger matchups in February, but UIC was expected to be in the bottom of the league. So guess what that means? UIC actually will have a lot of favorable matchups down the stretch. They'll get to play Evansville one more time. They do have Indiana State once again. Again, those are not easy games for UIC's level, as we've seen, but they will only play Murray State once. Illinois State, they get them at home. And so there's a real path now for UIC if they stay playing at this level to get to maybe 11 or 12 wins in the Valley, which would be an incredible achievement from where they were. They started 0-4. Now they're 7-4 and a winnable game at Southern Illinois this Saturday. So on the flip side of that, with Murray State, they just started getting into the meat of their schedule. Having that Iowa trip, they lose both. They lose this home game to Illinois State. And that was a game I was actually trying to get to cover flight issues. Long story there, but I would just say they didn't have their normal crowd last night, and I think they'll get that rocking again once the weather problems go away. But they're going to need a crowd because they still host Belmont later in February. They're going to Belmont this weekend, and they have some big ones at Bradley later. They do have Northern Iowa at home, and they have that UIC game at home that you mentioned. So Murray State's got the meat of their schedule right now, and they're going to have to put up if they're really going to win this league.
Yeah, we're going to know a lot about Murray State by the end of this stretch. And for UIC, like you mentioned, they go, I guess, on the road in their own state to Southern Illinois on Saturday in what should be a pretty good game there. Let's move to the Southland Conference, and we're actually joined now by the head coach of Stephen F. Austin, Matt Brower. Coach, welcome in. Obviously, in your first year, you've gotten off to a fantastic start, especially in Southland play so far with just one loss, sitting at 11-1. What about Southland play has your team adjusted so well to that has led to this hot streak to start off?
Yeah, first off, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm big fan of Field of 68, so watch you guys all the time, and I know Sean and Rocco were back on the North Texas train when we were back there a few years ago. So I appreciate you guys' support. But we got a really good group of high character guys. They all came here with one common goal. I told those guys when I got hired, the conversations I had with our athletic director and our president were not to come in and try to finish 5th or 6th. And it's not trying to be arrogant. It's just the truth. SFA basketball is a special place. It's had a ton of success and a ton of history and a lot of championships. And, so when we had these guys on visits and we had phone calls, that's all we talked about was coming here, helping us win a championship. So there was no, fake expectations. This is what it was going to be. This is how we were going to approach every day. And our guys have really bought into that and really, bought into their roles, and the fact that we had success early obviously helps that. It's really hard to get them to buy in if we're not winning, and that's a big part of it. But the guys deserve a ton of credit because of just the way they've come in. They've accepted each other. They've gelled really well, and and really bought into the roles that are going to help us, be successful.
Yeah, Coach, thanks again for joining. And yeah, speaking of North Texas and your time with Coach McCaslin and the pedigree, it's no surprise to me to look at the numbers and see you're a top 10 in the country defensive effective field goal percentage defense. What has gone into that you maybe learned from your time with Coach Mack and the players buy-in and getting after it defensively?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously Coach Mack was a big part of that for 7 years, but Ross Hodge was somebody that him and I did a lot together defensively at North Texas for 5 years when I was there with him. And, I worked for Coach Hodge at Midland Junior College or Midland College back in 2010 and 11 for a year. And we lost in the national championship game together to CSI. So, but man, just learning from those guys about the attention to detail, the game planning, how important it is for the accountability structure of what you do on a daily basis. Nothing we do defensively is earth shattering. I mean, I certainly didn't invent anything we're doing defensively. It's stuff we've taken from a bunch of different people, a bunch of different coaches that have done it different ways. But, we've got guys that believe in it and we work on it a lot, and we, hold those guys accountable to what we're trying to do. And, there's been games where we've been better than others, but the guys know that we have to play defense to win championships. And so that's what we've been able to do. We've been able to convince them how important defense is, which, as everybody knows, making sure those guys know how important it is half the battle.
Coach, thanks for coming on. What's the biggest adjustment been for you going from an assistant coach on some really successful North Texas and Texas Tech teams to being the head guy running your own program? What's the biggest adjustment been for you?
Yeah, the blessing was Coach Mack let us do a lot. And so I felt like, the day-to-day stuff at North Texas, obviously Ross was the associate head coach. So he did a lot of that stuff, prepared him to be a head coach. Well, then when we went to Texas Tech, I was able to kind of fill in that role a little bit to where I got to do a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And so I really felt like I was prepared to be a head coach. Now, obviously, we know going from feeling like you're prepared to actually going and doing it's two very different things. But the day-to-day, like people that want your attention and want to talk to you was underrated on my part. I knew a lot of it wasn't going to be basketball related. A lot of it's, donor relations and just relationships in the community and your players' relationships and just all those things that matter. But I probably undervalued just the time and attention that other people want from being the head coach. And but I've gotten used to it, and I've embraced it a lot better as I've gotten more used to it as well.
Hey, Coach, you got the chance to go down and see kind of the bullies of the league, McNeese, in person and play them tooth and nail to a 2-point loss. What did you guys learn about yourselves that day? And how do you think that, without giving away the game plan or anything, how do you think that will play into next Monday's matchup? I know you're focused on CeeLa right now, but the rest of us, we're looking forward to Monday.
Yeah, and I try to tell a lot of people that are like, well, we can't wait to get there Monday. I'm like, no, we play Saturday, and Saturday is our Super Bowl, so don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
so,
yes it is. Yes it is.
Monday means nothing if we can't win Saturday. So, ultimately, I think the best part about, going down to McNeese when we played them was figuring out where we kind of measure up. And, I think you can talk a big game and everybody believes you can go in and win every game. But, when you actually go there and have a chance to win and kind of lead for most of the game, to give yourself a chance to win, I think that really boosted our guys' confidence just to believe that we, are one of the best teams in this conference. So that part was great. We obviously didn't finish off the way we needed to, but that's this thing in the past. And, I'm not worried about that anymore. Worried about, like you said, having a good practice tomorrow, having a good film session, having a good walkthrough, and going and finding a way to win Saturday night at 5 p.m.
Not to reopen up old wounds, but last year's Elite Eight game, Texas Tech, Florida, obviously a great one, right? But was there a feeling when you guys were up in that game, you're like, we might really win this national championship? Like, did you feel any of that, or like, what was the feeling throughout that game?
Yeah, I'm naturally like beginning of the season, my wife gets tired of me talking about it because I'm always like, I think we're, a 17-14 team, and then it seems like every year we're a 20-win team. So she stopped listening to my my predictions preseason. But I thought we were a decent team early in the year. We weren't playing very well. We come off of Christmas. We lose Central Florida at home, the first Big 12 game, and I really was like, man, I don't know if this team's got it. And man, was I wrong? And obviously, Coach Mack is incredible, the best of the best in getting teams to believe and to buy in what is the best for that team to be successful. So, once we got to the NCAA tournament and we started winning games, then it was like, okay, maybe we are actually pretty good. And as I look back, I rewatched the Florida game a couple months ago actually. And, you start looking at your roster and like the guys and the players we had, and man, we were a good team and we had them beat and couldn't make a couple plays down the stretch. And probably a couple of things I wish we could do defensively a little different since that was my part of it. But, hey, man, credit to them. They made a ton of tough shots late. And Walter Clayton was a hero for them. And, they were a good team. And if we had been able to get by them and get to the Final Four, I really do firmly believe we would have gotten another rematch with Houston to try to go win it.
Hey, Coach, one last question from me. I love the history, the culture, and just the overall success of Stephen F. Austin's program. So it's been really refreshing to see this season so far play out. And I'm actually doing this show right now from Champaign, Illinois, where, of course, Brad Underwood took the Jacks to three straight tournaments. I just want to get your take, on life down there at SFA since you've been there, and are people really starting to gravitate now that you're off to such a good start?
Yeah, the people were super excited when I got the job, just because of the people I've worked for and the success that they've had. But I'm telling you, Nacogdoches is a special place, not just because of SFA basketball, but just the people in general. They love SFA. It's a very rich basketball tradition, and we've had to start a little bit from scratch in terms of the attendance and getting students back involved and getting some of the community and maybe some people that are within a 30-minute, 40-minute drive to come to games again, in Lufkin and Tyler and just some of those areas. But it's building, and we're getting, I think we had a little close to 4,000 people in our last game there, and I feel it. The buzz is different. It's definitely building the right way, and I'm excited about it because it's such a great place to play, and it's a hard place to win for opponents. And the more people that show up and support us and get back to what it was, 6, 7, 10 years ago, man, this place is really hard to win at, and it creates a really big advantage for us to try to win Southland Conference championships.
And on Saturday, you welcome Southeastern Louisiana to your home arena. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Congrats on all the success. Best of luck on Saturday and the rest of the way.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you look at the Southland standings, and it's kind of looking like a 2-horse race now, rounding that fourth corner, or that third turn here, with Stephen F. Austin and McNeese. And Rocco, you mentioned it to Coach there. That game next week between those two teams might be a precursor of what's to come, maybe in a conference championship kind of game. How big is that game for not only Stephen F. Austin, but also McNeese as well?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, yeah, these two have emerged as heavyweights. We had a nice story with Nichols starting 7-0. They've gone 0-5 since then. Incarnate Word's been on the show. They've had a rough month, and everybody else has been, showing up here and there. UT Rio Grande Valley has been pretty decent lately, beating McNeese actually. But yeah, these are the two heavyweights, and the way that first game played out, like he mentioned it, SFA led most of the way in Lake Charles. And, of course, they didn't close out strong, lose by 2. That was a heartbreaker, but it made me, just watching it, Sean, I think you would agree, that this team is right there with McNeese on a schematic level, on a blow-for-blow level. It's some of the best mid-major basketball I've seen this year in any conference. And this time around, I think SFA needs to show themselves and the community around them that they can beat them. So I think it's really important SFA gets that win, even if it's just by 1 point. But from McNeese's perspective, excellent question there, Vince. From their perspective, they've already went on the road and dropped games at UIW and at UTRGV. I think McNeese is trying to get over the hump with this road game syndrome that they've had. At the same time, you have to remember, on top of all of this, the conference tournament is played at McNeese. And so that's why I think if SFA gets swept in the season series, that could be a little demoralizing heading into a potential championship game way down the road. I think what would make the best story is if they split the season series and we get a rubber match for all of the Southland marbles, Vince.
Sean, would you agree with Rocco there on SFA in the Southland?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're right there. They have such a safe floor with the defense they play, with the way that Brower schemes things up for them, with their rebounding advantage they have at times, and they don't have the most size, but their guys just play so hard. And I think that makes a really big difference for them because they start 4 guys that are 6'5" or shorter. Their big man is 6'9", but they just play hard. They're really good defensively, top 25 in 2-point and 3-point field goal defense. And when you have a guy like Keon Thompson, holdover from the previous team who was at Boston College, I believe, to start, then UMass, he's really been awesome for him this year, shooting 50% from the field, averaging over 20 a game. Being able to get the most out of a guy with that level of talent has really been a big boost for Brower in year one.
Certainly has been, and SFA sitting atop the Southland. Let's take a look now and kind of just have open discussion here, because we've talked about conferences that are one team at the top. We've got a trio at the top, and the back half is trailing. We've got conferences that look different across the face of mid-major basketball, and because we cover so many, we don't get to touch on all of them. So I think this is probably a good point to maybe touch on some teams that you are eyeing, like in terms of conferences being wide open, in terms of conference title races that you're watching. What's a conference maybe that you've got your eye on, Rocco, as the season ends its conference schedule here as we get closer to March?
Well, Vince, I'm watching all 31, and I'll give you a couple that we haven't touched on too much or enough on the show, and that's I'll start with the A-Sun. The A-Sun's kind of turned into a wild experience so far this year, and we still have a lot of runway to go. But they are the first league that starts their conference tournament on that early Monday. They'll get rolling, and for the first time in at least a long time, they'll play it at a neutral site. This used to be a league that had all the games played on campus. That changes. They're all going to Jacksonville, the new league headquarters, for neutral site games, inviting all 12 schools. So with that being said, the top 4 race is very critical. Keep that in mind. And right now, we've had a 3-horse race, and I guess after last night, we have a 4th horse from Central Arkansas who went into Queens last night, played extremely well. They got an incredible effort from Cameron Hunter. He came back from Wisconsin. He tried to move up, didn't quite work out in Madison, came right back. Some people call it a Marfo. I call it a boomerang. But Cameron Hunter, man, dropped 31 on Queens. He's projected right now to be the player of the year in the league per Ken Palm. Central Arkansas is ranked right now 184th in the Pomeroy ranks, which I tweeted about earlier. It's the highest they've been ranked since they had Jordan Howard, of course, a great player there for all those years. But yeah, so it's been a long drought. They've been basically stuck in the 300s of Division I basketball in complete futility. Credit to John Schulman, who's really turned this around in year 2. They're sitting at 6-2 in the league. After taking a bunch of buy money in the non-conference, they're still just 11-10, but you can't look at that. You have to look at the teams they played. I think they've really emerged as a threat and a dark horse. And Lipscomb, to me, they've been the other story that haven't been talked about too much. I think nationally we saw that crazy start they had at Duke. They got up by double digits early against the Blue Devils. Of course, eventually the Blue Devils took over and won by 20 plus. But that's really helped this team get a lot of momentum outside of their other game at Cincinnati with a big boy. They dropped 1 at Stetson in the league, but they're 7-1, and they beat everybody else. And they played a really consistent brand of basketball at a pretty fast pace. So I've been impressed by that, and a lot of it is defensive. Again, so many of the teams we like and that win in a lot of games are very good on the defensive end. That's always the theme, I think, every season. No surprise that Lipscomb's number 1 in effective field goal percentage defense and at forcing turnovers. So they've been really effective under first-year head coach Kevin Carroll. So between Kevin Carroll and John Schulman, we got a great race right now for Coach of the Year. And we're not even going into Austin Peay yet, who's also still has one loss. So I think, Coach Gibson also doing a great job defensively. They're top 100 for the season, which is really hard to do in the ASUN level. They get after you big time, and their only loss is to Lipscomb. So we're right there with those 3 plus Queens is still very good for this level. So I think between those 4, we got a heck of a race, and I really don't know which way it's going to go.
Sean, thoughts on any conference races that you're intrigued by?
Yeah, there's a couple. I would say the Northeast Conference is definitely one of them because we don't really talk about that league much. They're second to last in Ken Palm's overall conference rankings, just above the MEAC. So we don't spend a lot of time on them, but it's definitely a league that has some intrigue. Long Island and Lemoyne will meet up again for a second time today. And Lemoyne, in that first meeting, they won at home. Now it's Long Island's turn to try to defend home court. I'm not sure if Shiloh Jackson, the leading scorer for Lemoyne, is playing or not. And I also believe Lemoyne is tournament eligible this year, right, Rocco? It's 3 years, not 4 years now. That's the thing.
Yeah, they have one more year to go, so they're not eligible.
Oh, so they're not okay. So they're not eligible.
Yeah,
but
they're in
Lemoyne,
year
I mean,
2.
They could still win the conference tournament or the regular season tournament. And I mean, they've just been really impressive so far, winning 4 straight games. They play a little bit different than a lot of teams in the league with the way they space the floor and shoot it, which has kind of been what Nate Champion's done throughout his first 3 years there. I think it's been pretty interesting to watch, and I've always liked the style that they play. Long Island, obviously, they're long, they're athletic, they have a lot of talent with Malachi Davis and Greg Gordon, Jamal Fuller, and Lasu, their big man. So it's a fun team to watch, Long Island for sure. And then Central Connecticut, they have Darren Smith, who's been a big-time player this year. Wagner will get after you a little bit, and Nick Jones has been great. But it feels like a 2-team race in that one between Long Island and Lemoyne and Mercyhurst over there at third. So it's been an interesting league so far in the NEC. We'll see how that game pans out tonight because it'll be first place alone for Lemoyne if they win today with the tiebreaker. So that's one to watch. And then I think the Big West, another one that'll be of intrigue today, UC Irvine hosting Hawaii. The first meeting between those two teams was really good. Hunter Erickson hits a mid-range shot, which that possession was going nowhere. There's no way that's what they drew up. But Hunter Erickson found a little lane to get a mid-range shot off. They want it. But Aaron Hunkin-Clater, the starting point guard for the Rainbow Warriors, has been out for a little bit, 2 games with an injury. Not sure if he's playing in this one, but I think that'll be a big impact, not having his ball handling stability if he doesn't play in this one on the road.
And those 2-horse races at the top of conference play can be tough because a win or a loss can make the difference. And we've had that same issue a little bit here on our Call Your Shot picks. I now am the only one left that hasn't gotten an upset yet because at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, we got a Joe Burrow meme from producer Dagan saying the Bulls came through with a win. Man, get on the mic here. You can talk now because you've got a win under your belt here.
Yeah, fellas, felt good to finally get on the board. Vince, we're going to get you. This might be the week. This will be the week. We'll get you.
I think so too. And as you know, the saying goes, first is the worst, second is the best. So we're going to go Dagan first because he just got a win. Reset the lineup. I'm going to go second just to try to increase my odds here, and then we'll go Rocco and Sean with the Call Your Shot picks here. Dagan, take it away.
All right, fellas. Well, as you know, the basis of my Buffalo pick was a team that needed a win. So I'm going to stick with that for this week's pick. And I'm going to go with the Camels. Gamble over William & Mary. 4 straight losses in CAA play. The CAA is about as chaotic as any league in the country right now. So really anything can happen. So give me the Fighting Camels against the Tribe.
I like it. The Fighting. That's a war right there between those two mascots. That's good stuff. I'm going to go here, and I'm looking in Conference USA, trying to find those 8-point underdogs in Ken Palm, and I found one. Sam Houston team that started in conference play 0-3, since has been on a roll. They're sitting at 6-4. They're winners of 5 in a row. They welcome Louisiana Tech to their home arena on Saturday, a team that obviously is offensively hasn't been up to par maybe of Coach Hester and his typical prowess this season, but defensively they're an impressive squad. Sam Houston State is obviously a good offensive team. I think that'll be a good clash between these two teams. I am going to go with the Bulldogs over the Bearcats. Give me Louisiana Tech to beat Sam Houston State. Rocco, what we got?
I'm going to get us down to the Sun Belt, and I'm going to go back to a practice that I watched in October, and that would be the Appalachian State Mountaineers, who are number one in defense in the Sun Belt. They've gone through some big-time futility offensively in certain games. That's certainly a challenge for the Mountaineers, but they have the tall task of going to Troy coming up this Saturday. So they both play different games tonight. Obviously, that will play into how Saturday goes, but I do think matchup-wise on paper, I like this matchup a lot for Appalachian State. Troy's been playing in a way where, they're great at shot selection. They like to get up into the 80s and 90s this year, the way they've played. They love going to overtime, if you haven't noticed. But I will say this, Appalachian State is super effective at getting you out of what you want to do, and they will deny kind of transition at all costs. They work really, really hard at it, and they're going to put their best defenders on guys like Valdez, who's just been an absolute machine this year. They've got a couple big bodies to throw at Valdez. I think they can really, really muck this game up and take the total air out of the ball. Appalachian State, 360th in tempo. And I'll go ahead and predict that they'll find a way to be in it late and close it out with a surprising road win at the league-leading Troy. Troy, that's the other part of the calculation, has a 2-game lead. So maybe taking their foot off the gas just a tad will allow the Mountaineers to get the upset.
Rocco's got the Mountaineers winning ugly. Sean, what do we got?
Yeah, I'm going with Sacred Heart on Friday over Quinnipiac. This is a Quinnipiac team that's been really up and down in conference play. I thought they could have just run through that league. Obviously not been the case. They've had some real clunkers, especially at home against St. Peter. So it's not like they've been unbeatable at home so far this year. Ken Palm has as a 9-point difference between the two teams. Sacred Heart, they started the league 1-6. In MAC play, they were hurt. Anquan Hill, one of their best players, was out for a large stretch of that. Yeah. Now with him back in the fold, I really like the way they can attack this Quinnipiac defense, because Quinnipiac struggled to defend the 3-point shot throughout the year. And they have 5 guys who can shoot the basketball, and they have some size. Not crazy size, but 6'9" with Hill who can shoot it. You have Jan Farrell, formerly of St. Bonaventure and East Carolina, 6'7", 220, can shoot it. Niall Ralph Byer, one of the best shooters in the country at 46%. Deshaun Gittins, he's been an awesome guard addition for them. And then Makai Connor, kind of the straw that stirs a drink for that offense at the point guard spot. So I just think they're really underrated. Quinnipiac obviously has the upper edge at home, and they have a lot of talent, but their overall offense has been a little bit inconsistent at times. And I think that can really sting them in a matchup against a team that can really shoot the basketball. So give me Sacred Heart pulling out a road win here.
Quality, call your shot picks across the board, and who knows, maybe we'll walk away with another winner like we did with Dagan last week. But that is a great way to put a bow on this episode of the Field of 68 Mid-Major Show. The best spot to get your mid-major hoops. Rocco Miller, Sean Paul, producer Dagan. My name's Vince Wolfram. We will see you same time next week here on the Field of 68.